Hello, and welcome to the Louise Elizabeth podcast. I am your host, Louise, and I am a 620-hour trauma-informed registered yoga teacher. I am a registered holistic nutritionist. I am a professional network marketer, and recently I have opened up a new business in the short-term rental field. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, and this is your holistic health podcast. So health is integrated. There's many aspects to health. Health is how you live your life. It's how you feed your body, you feed your mind, how you spend your time. It is mind, body, and soul, and working on all of those things really is health to its core. So in this podcast, I dive into all topics relating to holistic health, how health is integrated, and this podcast is here to help support you in finding your own balance, finding your own flow in your life so that you can feel the absolute best, the absolute most aligned, and really just feeling at home in your own health and your own journey and how you live that life. So welcome, and here is today's episode. Okay, there we go. Awesome. I'm all set up. So I'm recording as a podcast. I'm doing a live. Hi guys on Instagram. If you see me talking to my mic, that is because I'm going to I get distracted by all the things, and I feel like I need to look at the mic to talk to the mic because nobody is actually live on the mic, but you know. So I'm really excited to talk about this live today. So your symptoms aren't your destiny. So this actually comes from an inspiration of what's actually happened in the last 2 weeks of my life. I mean, the whole last 13 years of my life, but specifically the last couple of weeks. So I want to start off by sharing a story. So for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know that I have been on a hormone journey. I've been on my own PMS journey, among other things, of course, but I have shared this in the past where I used to get really debilitating cramps, like to the point where I had to call in sick. I had to skip school in high school. My cramps were so bad for the first 24 hours where I was literally throwing up and fainting from pain, and it was absolutely terrible. As an adult, my pain was still pretty bad. I just was able to manage it a little bit better. I would take ibuprofen. When you take so much that you're literally you're taking so many painkillers that you actually think the painkillers are almost making the symptoms worse. That is where I was at. So that was where I was, a decade plus ago, 2 decades ago, actually. And where I'm at today is I'm 33 now, right? And actually in your 30s as women, I know some women will say, and I'm getting kind of closer to perimenopause, so my symptoms are amping up. And if your symptoms are amping up in your 30s, it's not like this horrible cycle of life things. It's actually like your body being like, hey, things are still in balance. I've been trying to send you signals since you were in high school, and you're not really doing anything about them, so I'm just going to keep really harassing you with pain and amping up that pain and amping up the symptoms so that you can kind of do something about it, please. So if you have symptoms in your body, right, especially that specifically. So anyway, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So back to my story. So I've shared this before, and I'll share it again for those who haven't heard it. So the last I keep saying 6 months, but actually I was still living in Revelstoke. So probably the last year of my life, I have pretty much had 0 PMS. My tender breasts have been gone. My cramps have been completely gone. I've had 1 or 2 really random months where I've been pushing myself the week before my period, and I'll be a bit crampy for maybe an hour, but really nothing debilitating, no issues to get out and doing things, absolutely no problem whatsoever. So the first, and any man watching this recording, I promise I'm not going to talk about periods the whole time. I'm just sharing my experience that has been the inspiration for this live and recording this podcast episode. But for the last year, I basically have had 0 PMS. So PMS, any symptoms that you experience, jumping ahead of myself, any symptoms that you experience, whether it's IBS, whether it's fatigue, whether it's breaking out, whether it's PMS, yay, glad you love it, whether it's PMS, whether it's anything, any symptoms that you get, that is your body being like, hey, I need support. Okay, our default setting as humans is our body is constantly working to find homeostasis. Your body has this caliber where you feel good on average, where you feel energized on average, where you can eat food and it not hurt your stomach, where you can go to the washroom properly, where you don't have acne, where you're actually your ideal weight. There is no like magic number on a scale that humans should be aiming for. Everybody's body's a little bit different, but your body has a healthy natural weight to it. And so when things are working properly, when things are in balance, we're in our natural organic weight that our body wants. We have energy. We can go and do things. We can exercise. We can have a conversation with people. We can avoid the afternoon crashes. All those symptoms that we experience, just because you do them, I'm not shaming you at all. I just want you to know that it is normal, or sorry, it is common that people have those symptoms, and it is something we've normalized in our world, and there's so many factors, and we'll kind of get into those factors in a bit. But really, like, if you're experiencing those symptoms, that is your body screaming for attention. So on that note, back to my story. That was a little tangent, jumping ahead of myself. So back to my story. I've had like the last 12 months of basically no PMS, very minimal amount. And specifically the last 6 months or so, I have had zero, not even a little bit, right? So I like usually know when my period's coming based on my energy levels, based on my mood, based on my period tracker on my phone that's telling me that it's coming, like based on the moon as well. Like if it's, sorry, I was getting a phone call there. Like if it's the full moon, if it's the new moon, like I can usually tell when my period is, right? Okay, my phone's struggling to catch up on this live. So hopefully it's not too laggy and Vince stops trying to call me. So I basically know when my period is. So like I said, the last 6 months or so, I've had zero symptoms. Now, I'm so glad I've helped Laura so much. But this last specifically, this last month, this is what happened, okay? Vince's mom came to visit us. I really hope that this live is not lagging a bunch. It's really distracting and I should stop staring at the video. So I'm going to stare away from my phone for a second because it's really distracting me. But essentially the last 6 months, or this last month, what happened, it was such a crazy experience. So I actually, this last month, I knew that Vince's mom was coming. And I remember gazing at my phone really quickly and being like, oh, perfect. I'm going to get my period the weekend after. I don't know if my brain just like didn't quite register the dates or what. I don't know. But I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get my period the week after Vince's mom visits. So the week before she was here, I had so much energy. I went for a run and I felt great. And I even remember thinking, knowing the time frame in my head, knowing when the moon was, and honestly, it all kind of blurred together for me a little bit. But knowing the time frame, knowing when that was supposed to happen, I was like, okay, like, and seriously, like, the new moon happened, and it just happened, like, the days flew by. Like, literally, this is how my week was. The days flew by. I had no idea what freaking day it was, and I was just like, okay, cool, like, whatever. And so, yeah, I was like, all right, this is this. So, awesome. I'm still so distracted by this live that's lagging. Like, if you're on live, can you please put in the comments if it's lagging? Because this is super inconvenient and super distracting, and I really hope it's not lagging. And if it is lagging, I won't be able to upload it, and you can listen to the podcast episode instead. Okay, it's going to stop getting distracted. So, yeah, I'm all over the place. New moon happened, and in my head, that was like a few days ago, basically. And then, like, when I'm going through this thought process of going for the run, it was a few days ago. I had all this extra energy, and I remember being like, okay, Louise, like, you have all this energy, and, the ski hill's kind of not really good. Touring's kind of sketchy in the backcountry. Like, it's really scaring me, and I'm not really drawn to go to the backcountry right now. Like, I just had all this energy to burn, and I was like, in my head, I was like, oh yeah, it's just after ovulation, actually. It's just after ovulation. That's cool. I got lots of energy. No worries. Like, awesome. Got this. And so I was like, okay, like, this is fine. Like, I'll go for a run. I went for a run. I felt freaking amazing on my run. I had so much energy. I did 5.5 kilometers and I could have easily kept going. I really enjoyed the run as well. And I wasn't really sore. Like, I felt pretty good afterwards. So I was like, okay, like, cool. That was a good time to go for a run. And then in my head again, I had quickly glanced at the phone and I just knew that, like, I like I said before, like, my period's going to come in a week from now. And then on top of that, I was just feeling really good. like leading up to the week that Vince's mom was coming here, I was trying to get some extra things done. We had a couple busy days with cleaning. Like I was in this really focused, like high energy, like communicating thing as well, which is more the ovulation energy. I did have one little mental breakdown on Friday. I'm recording this on a Tuesday. On Friday, I had a little mental breakdown, but it was just me finally leaning into some feelings that I had been suppressing. So I didn't think anything of it really. I just thought it more like, oh, okay, I've been like suppressing all these feelings. So anyway, here I am, la la la, doing my thing, and I really like, I have all this energy. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling amazing, to be honest. And I was like, okay, well, let's just, like, I just knew that my period was coming the next weekend. Like, I was in my head, it was coming the next weekend. So if you don't know, PMS for women, the week before your period is the week that your body's going to let you know that you're probably going to have a miserable period. Like straight up, it's going to let you know you're going to have tender breasts, you're going to break out. You might even start to cramp a little. Like your moods are going to be all over the week, like all over the place, like that week before. But I was feeling so freaking good the week leading up to my period. Lo and behold, Sunday morning, I get up and I go to the bathroom. And like Saturday, we had a pretty relaxing day. We walked, and it was freaking cold here in Golden. We went for 2 walks in the sun, and it was absolutely incredible, and I loved it. And we had such a relaxing day, had a relaxing dinner, played some cards and video games at night. Like, it was so great. And then and then Sunday morning, I wake up, and we're actually getting ready to go cross-country skiing, which I'd never been cross-country skiing before. And I go pee, and I wipe, and I'm like, that's interesting. Did I just get my period a week early? Like, I actually thought I got my period a week early. So I went and checked my phone, and no, I actually got my period a day early. I was like, wait a minute. With everything that's been going on in my life, like the quick glance at the phone, having all this energy, feeling freaking awesome, I was like, holy shit. I just, in my head, thought I was getting my period a week later because I was feeling that good. It was such a wild experience. And then I got my period, and then we went cross-country skiing and ended up cross-country skiing for like 15 kilometers. So, well, officially my live didn't work. So if people were watching the live, they're going to have to catch this recording. So anyway, the cross-country ski ended up being 15 kilometers. I ended up feeling freaking amazing, and like I just felt so good. Like I just straight up felt good. And it was just such a wild experience. I had energy. Like I didn't crash when we got back later. I had energy to teach the yoga class at nighttime. Yesterday, day 2, like I had so much energy teaching my other yoga classes. Like it was just such a wild experience. And so it inspired me for the live, which the live didn't really work, and to now inspiring me to record this podcast at the same time, which I'm glad I decided to do it at the same time. And the reason that has inspired me is because it really made me think. So for those of you that don't know, I'm doing the 3-part digestive and gut health masterclass reset, and it just got me thinking so much about how there's so many people out there in the world with symptoms, whether it's PMS, whether it's IBS, whether it's acne, whether it's your mental health. Like there's so many things out there going on that in that moment, and I get it, like I've had PMS that bad, like in that moment you really are just like, this fucking sucks. Like this sucks. Like this feels hopeless. This feels helpless. Like I don't know what, like I feel like I'm dying. Like there's so many things. And in that moment, it's really, I don't want to say easy, but the default setting to fall into is like feeling sorry for yourself. Like you just sit there and you wallow in that pain, and I understand it hurts and you feel awful. And you know, sometimes there's one or two things, either one that happens and we're like, okay, enough's enough. And we take the actions and do the things that we need to do to move away from those symptoms, or in a way that's holistic, of course, like lifestyle things, supplements, food. Like another option is we just go straight for pharmaceuticals, which I'll tell you now, if you're having symptoms and you just start taking pills, unless you have like a very, very specific condition that you absolutely need pills, which by the way, that's a very small list of diseases. Like that's not going to do anything for you long term. That's going to mask the symptoms, which eventually it flips where those symptoms are worse, or you get other symptoms because these pills are affecting you in one way or another, or these pharmaceuticals are affecting you in one way or another, which Side note, you can go on a website that's called www.drugs.com, and it will tell you all about the pharmaceuticals that you're taking that your healthcare professional is most likely not telling you about that you're taking. Or the other option is we just do nothing and we continue to normalize it. And sometimes we'll feed like, oh, yeah, but you don't know. Yeah, but this. Yeah, but that. And really just feed that like these symptoms are my destiny. This is my life. This is like I have to feel this way. I'm always going to X, Y, and Z. And the reality is it does not need to be that way. And it's really just a conscious choice to be like, okay, I've had enough. Like for me, my conscious choice when I was out west, and I remember just being like, I just cannot keep taking these painkillers. One, they just don't align with my values based on some family stuff growing up. I was like, I do not want to be on painkillers. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to go down that road. I've seen what it's done to very close people in my life. Like, I absolutely cannot do that. And back then I could Google things, maybe not when I was a child, but back then I could. And literally I Googled like natural painkillers for PMS. And that was how I found kombucha. That was how I found like, exercising a little bit when you have your cycle and actually learning about what causes cramps. And it was just like really spiraled into like, okay, like I don't need to always feel this way. Awesome. And then I was able to move forward from that. So if you have these symptoms, no matter what the symptoms are, like it doesn't need to be your destiny. There's so many things that you can do to support and move forward from there. And it's just really, are you going to let that be the excuse to do nothing, or are you going to let that be the excuse to actually do something? And I know that might be a bit harsh for some people to hear, a bit harsh for me to say, but really like if you're having symptoms, something's going on in your body. And again, you have those three choices. I'm either going to take a holistic approach and look at my lifestyle, look at my diet, look at my food, look at my stress levels, like look at my whole umbrella of my entire life and how that affects me. I'm going to take some pills or get some injections and just kind of cover it up, not actually do anything to find balance again. Or I'm just going to sit in these symptoms and just decide that this is how I have to feel for the rest of my life. And, it's really up to you which option you want to take. Do you want to take the road of feeling sorry for yourself, finding the balance through the holistic means? And I'll just say the holistic means sometimes they do take longer because your body needs to recalibrate, find that balance again, find that homeostasis. Sometimes your body will actually feel worse before it feels better, depending on what you have. If you're like killing off parasites or killing off candida overgrowth, like you're going to feel worse before you feel better, but you're going to feel so much better on the other side. Or you're just going to take some pills and you'll feel better right away. But sometimes the holistic means is as simple as like chewing your food more, and that will get rid of gas that you have. Like it doesn't need to be complicated before you're actually feeling the effects of it. It's just I guess the pharmaceutical way always gets the lights, the shining light, like take this pill and you'll instantaneously feel better. And for some people, they literally take the pill and instantaneously feel better. So that was my story of this wild, like getting my period a week earlier than I thought because I was just so brain-wise elsewhere, I guess. But I'd been really anchoring into my self-care routine. I'd really been making sure I was sleeping properly. And, I changed my sleep routine. I changed my sleep cycle times, like getting up in the morning and having 2 hours of me time. No matter what I do for those 2 hours, it doesn't matter. It's up to me, but I have those 2 hours of me time. I was slowing down when I was eating food. I was really consciously chewing my food. Just really like making sure part of those 2 hours I had some sort of meditation or journaling or mindfulness practice and really anchoring in. And I was just so in my self-care routine that I just felt freaking awesome, like so much energy the week leading up to my period, including this period that I have still so much energy. And it's just been such an awesome experience. So I wanted to share that story because that's not at all what it was like. That's not at all what it was like 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Like, even though my PMS is like, I should say my cramps, part of my PMS was cramps. Those cramps have been mostly gone for the last 3 or 4 years. Actually, since 3 years when COVID hit, like that was like when I remember the last, like finally finding the final key to my puzzle. And they've been mostly gone. Sometimes I'll get a bit crampy, but like really nothing where I'm like feeling sick and so nauseous and in so much pain that I can't do anything. But I still was quite low energy. I still really, like, I had to pay attention the week before my period, or I would just like crash those first couple hours of my bleed and just like lose all energy and have to take a nap. Or if I didn't have the opportunity to slow down and take a nap, when I finally got to slow down later on in the day, I would crash hard. Like, I would just feel so awful. Where on Sunday, like, I seriously had no idea I was getting my period. And then I got it, and then I felt awesome cross-country skiing. I felt awesome afterwards. I felt awesome teaching yoga, and I felt awesome the next day, and I still feel awesome. So, yeah, hopefully that story can really just make you see, like, your symptoms don't have to be your destiny. I know we've normalized it as a society that living with symptoms is like a normal human thing, but really they're not, and it's just figuring out what the imbalance is in your body and what you can do to find that balance again. And as always, just a casual little marketing in there. I work one-on-one with people through my holistic nutrition work. So if you feel like you need someone to go in and do a deep dive, by all means, send me a message, or you can join in one of my courses. In the show notes are all the different links and ways to get a hold of me and connect and see if working together makes sense for you. So wherever you are in the world, thank you. Sorry I was a little distracted at the start there with the live that I thought was working, and then it wasn't working. So for anybody that started the live and didn't get to finish it, well, we had to finish it on this podcast episode. Okay, everybody, bye.